I thank God all the time for all the people that have been part of my life and career that have helped me get here and maintain this all this time.
There are stars who once shook the world, but then one day they suddenly vanished. Some left without a reason. Some faced unavoidable disasters, but others chose to gamble on a hazy future down a different path, making people think their soaring careers would end forever. But then, in a moment no one expected, they made a spectacular comeback, driving the whole world crazy. How did they live during all those years out of the spotlight? And what drove them to shine again after hiding in the shadows for so long? The 21 stories I'm about to tell will explain the journeys of disappearance and return for these black stars, who didn't just come back, but seemed to be reborn in a new form, stronger, more unique. 21. Betty Davis. The funk queen who vanished for 40 years in a basement, then exploded back with a steamy track. Betty Davis, the ex-wife of jazz legend Miles Davis, was a pioneering icon in funk music. She shaped the genre with her bold style, overflowing with emotion and super sensual vibes. Her compositions, with their wild sounds and free-spirited lyrics, made her one of the first female artists to blend funk with personal freedom and women's power. But with her super different music choices and no fear of breaking boundaries, Betty Davis faced heavy backlash from the media and society, leading to her being blacklisted in the music industry by the late 1970s. Her early fans drifted away, and eventually she vanished from the limelight. In 1979, the name Betty Davis really sank into the shadows. The sudden death of her father crushed her spirit, pushing her to completely withdraw from the stage lights. She quietly left New York, where she'd seen her massive successes, and headed back to Pittsburgh, living in total silence. She stopped appearing in public, didn't answer any calls or interviews. For 40 long years, Betty Davis's life had no cell phones or internet. She lived in a basement with cold walls where her music was just hazy memories. Like a ghost of funk, she seemed to have totally disappeared from the music world, leaving a gap no one could fill. Back then, no one knew what she was doing, or even if she was still alive. So, Betty Davis's return in 2017 was almost like a miracle. After 4 decades off the grid, she started collaborating remotely with documentary filmmakers to make a movie about her life. Betty. They say I'm different. It was a gentle comeback, not flashy, like a whisper from the dark. Then in 2019, Betty Davis shattered the silence completely with a new song, A Little Bit Hot Tonight. It was her first track in 40 years. Betty reaffirmed her status, a woman ahead of her time, an unforgettable feminist icon. This return didn't just restore her fame, it made the world rethink her influence on music and culture. Sadly, just 3 years after that impressive comeback, Betty Davis passed away. Even so, she proved that no matter how long the darkness lasts, the light will shine bright again one day, and her music will live forever in the hearts of funk lovers. 20. Howard Tate. From soul star to homeless addict, then a sudden revival at the Grammys. Howard Tate was one of the biggest names in soul music during the 60s, with tracks that even Janis Joplin covered. His signature music wave shot him to the top, making him an essential figure among musicians back then. But behind the glamour were piles of pain. Disputes with his label and the huge loss from his daughter's death pushed Howard into a bottomless pit. Drugs became the only thing to help him forget the pain temporarily, but they also made him slowly vanish from the music world. In the 70s, the name Howard Tate was pretty much erased from every poster and album. The world forgot a legendary voice, and people started believing he was dead. Through the 80s and 90s, Tate lived on the streets, homeless in Camden, New Jersey. His life was just a long string of dark days, scraping by in makeshift living and haunted by addiction. Doing odd jobs to score drugs, Howard Tate slowly became a forgotten name, drowning in the shadows of music lovers' memories. Then, one afternoon in 2001, fate came knocking again. A radio DJ bumped into Tate in a small store. By then, he'd gotten clean and totally changed. Becoming a preacher, he wasn't the wandering artist's shadow anymore. He was a different person, one who could proudly tell his story, who'd risen from the depths. And that DJ shared his story on the air. From there, the wheel of fortune started turning. Not long after that chance meeting, Tate reunited with producer Jerry Regavoy, the guy who'd worked with him in his glory days. And then, in 2003, he dropped the album Rediscovered. It was a masterpiece, proof of resurrection after years of darkness. The album got widespread recognition, including a Grammy nod. His loving fans came back, and the music world couldn't help but see Howard Tate in a new light. With a voice that had been forgotten, this was a stunning comeback, and he spent his final years touring, sharing an inspiring story of redemption, recovery from addiction through the power of music and faith. 19. Q Lazarus. Famous, then mysteriously vanished, turns out she drove a bus for 23 years. Q Lazarus, real name Diane Lucky, was an impressive music icon of the 90s. Her track Goodbye Horses not only made waves in the movie The Silence of the Lambs, but became a cultural phenomenon, a cult classic that hasn't faded to this day. But despite her standout talent, Q Lazarus never got a recording contract because her unique look and gender non-conforming style didn't fit the music market back then. Label rejections and commercial failures pushed her into the shadows. And after her band broke up in 1996, Q Lazarus disappeared without a trace. For years on end, even as thousands of fans hunted for her online, every effort was pointless. Rumors started spreading that Q Lazarus had died, or some tragedy kept her from the stage. Time passed, and the name Q Lazarus faded into oblivion, leaving just the melodies of Goodbye Horses echoing in music lovers' minds. Then, in 2019, a meeting changed everything. Director Eva Arigis, on a trip through New York, met a familiar-looking bus driver. Looking closer at that face, Eva suddenly recognized Q Lazarus, who'd left an indelible mark on music. But now she wasn't a music star anymore, no stage lights or crowds around her. Q Lazarus lived a simple life in Staten Island, working as a bus driver. That fateful encounter opened the door for the documentary Goodbye Horses, The Many Lives of Q Lazarus. But sadly, Q Lazarus didn't get to enjoy the stage spotlight again before passing away in 2022. 18. James Carr. The greatest soul voice ever froze, locked in psych wards, then suddenly returned. James Carr, a voice compared to Otis Redding, had one of the most powerful and emotional tones in soul music history. His track, The Dark End of the Street, became legendary and essential in the great music treasury. But his life wasn't as bright as his career. Suffering from undiagnosed bipolar disorder, Carr's life sank into the shadows of uncontrolled depression and manic episodes. In 1979, during a tour in Japan, James Carr's career totally collapsed. It was a night he and all the audience would never forget. Standing on stage in front of thousands, he overdosed on antidepressants and suddenly froze right there. Unable to speak, unable to perform, Carr stood motionless, while the crowd's stunned eyes witnessed a legend's breakdown. That incident made him damaged goods in the music industry's eyes, and he was totally cut out. The name James Carr vanished from stages, falling into shadows no one remembered. After the event, Carr went back to Memphis and lived with his sister. The following years passed in psych hospitals, where he lost himself in psychological storms. The 80s were a blank space when James Carr's image was just a faint memory for old fans. But then, in the mid-80s, things started shifting. A book called Sweet Soul Music by Peter Guralnick came out, and in it, James Carr was mentioned as a forgotten genius. The story of him, his unrecognized talent, his greatness buried under psychological turmoil, made people pay attention to that name again. A new wave of interest breathed life into him, motivating his return. In the early 90s, James Carr decided to hit the studio again, and the album Take Me to the Limit dropped in 1991, marking his rebirth, followed by Soul Survivor in 1994. His voice, even tinged by time and illness, still held that power and deep emotion. His admirers, who'd waited for him, felt more awe than ever. James Carr wasn't just a music legend. He was a symbol of resilience. 17. Arthur Lee, Love's leader sentenced to life under 3 strikes, got out and recreated the legendary album Forever Changes. Arthur Lee, the legendary leader of the band Love, was one of the greatest talents in 60s rock music. His 1967 album Forever Changes is considered one of the all-time masterpieces in music history. With his pioneering style blending rock, psychedelia, and jazz, Lee built a unique empire in music lovers' hearts. But in 1996, Arthur Lee's bright life flipped upside down. He got arrested for gun possession, an act that many thought didn't deserve such a heavy sentence. But under California's 3 strikes law, 3 crimes mean life in prison. Lee got 12 years. From a famous rock star, Arthur Lee was suddenly thrown into prison shadows, where his life passed in loneliness and helplessness. Those prison years dragged like a long nightmare when music, his biggest passion, became a distant memory. It wasn't until 2001 that a federal appeals court reversed Lee's sentence, saying the prosecutor had messed up. Lee got released, and his life turned a new page. Without hesitation, he jumped back into music, putting together a new band and touring everywhere. The image of Arthur Lee back on stage, performing Forever Changes in full, were emotional moments of survival and revival. The years 2002-2005 were Arthur Lee's brightest comeback era. By 2006, he passed away, closing a tragic but glorious chapter in modern music. His life is vivid proof of passion's value and never giving up effort. 16. Gil Scott-Heron, godfather of rap, drowned in crack in Rikers Prison, silent for a decade. Gil Scott-Heron was a music legend, dubbed the Godfather of Rap, who changed the industry with pioneering works like The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. With his powerful voice and socially charged raps, he wasn't just an artist, but a cultural icon, a storyteller for generations fighting for justice. Sadly, he slowly vanished from the music scene, swallowed by addiction's shadows and legal battles. In the 2000s, Gil Scott-Heron pulled back from the spotlight. His addictions pulled him into a dark spiral with no escape, while repeated stints in and out of Rikers Island prison tarnished the reputation of a guy once seen as a music giant. Music wasn't his lifeline anymore. Instead, it was endless fights with himself, his addiction, and the law. People slowly forgot the standout Gil Scott-Heron. For a whole 10 years, he barely put out new stuff, didn't show up publicly. Like a ghost, he hid in the shadows, dodging the media. Then in 2010, Gil Scott-Heron suddenly returned. He dropped the album I'm New Here, marking his rebirth after a decade of silence. The album wasn't just a music masterpiece, but a bitter, heartfelt share from him. Gil's voice, even wrecked by drugs, still had that weird, haunting feel. Every lyric, every rap was a message about miraculous survival after all the pain. Gil Scott-Heron didn't just overcome tragedy. He found a way to pour out his hurt. A year later, he passed away, but I'm New Here, his goodbye to the world, became one of the 21st century's most impressive albums. 15. Polystyrene, punk prophet misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. Polystyrene, real name Marianne Elliott Sade, was a living icon of the British punk movement, the female leader of the band X-Ray Specs. With her unique voice and lyrics against consumerism, she shaped part of punk music history. Her whole life was tied to rebellion, creativity, and views clashing with society. In 1978, after an explosive performance, Polystyrene started having weird hallucinations. She saw pink lights and felt the world spinning. Those symptoms landed her in the hospital. She got diagnosed with schizophrenia, but really it was bipolar disorder. That wrong diagnosis led to heavy sedative treatment, making things worse. After discharge, she ditched the polystyrene persona, withdrew from the music industry, and totally vanished from the stage lights. She joined the Hare Krishna movement, living a reclusive life with her daughter in a strict religious setting, far from music and the world that once admired her. The following years, she lived in gloomy shadows. Over a decade passed, and people started forgetting the name Polystyrene. It wasn't until the 90s and 2000s, with her sporadic stage appearances, that hope sparked, and things officially turned in 2011 when she dropped her solo album, Generation Indigo. It was an album mixing punk, reggae, and pop, a strong, pioneering comeback from the woman who'd once stirred up music. The album got rave reviews from fans and critics, showing Polystyrene was still an irreplaceable creator. But tragedy hit just weeks after the release. Polystyrene died from breast cancer, ending a life full of ups and downs and a stunning return. Even though her time back in music's light was short, her comeback solidified an immortal legacy. She'll always be punk's prophet, a model of boldness, creativity, and non-stop fight to reclaim her true self. 14. Muhammad Ali. Stripped of his belt, banned from fighting, exiled for 3 years, then reclaimed the world. Muhammad Ali wasn't just a boxing legend. He was a symbol of resistance, of rock-solid belief in what he thought was right. In 1967, at his career's peak, Ali made a world-shaking decision, refusing to join the Vietnam War draft. His famous line, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong," was a fierce protest against war and injustice. But that choice got him stripped of his championship belt, losing the career the world admired. Back then, Ali was at the top. On the ring, no one could beat him. But when war knocked, he refused to pick up a gun. That obviously made the white power holders feel betrayed. Sticking to his anti-war stance cost Ali big. The authorities revoked his boxing license. He got sentenced to 5 years in prison, though he stayed out on appeal. Those years, Ali couldn't step in the ring, couldn't make a living. But instead of fading in silence, he traveled everywhere, to colleges, speaking about civil rights, racial equality, and especially against the war. For 3 years, Ali lost his prime athlete time, but he became a guide, speaking up for justice for the oppressed and forgotten in society. By October 1970, Ali got back in the ring, first facing Jerry Quarry. But it was 1971 when the U.S. Supreme Court overturned his conviction that he truly returned. The fight with George Foreman in Zaire in 1974 in the Rumble in the Jungle wasn't just a boxer's comeback. It was a win for morals, for belief in justice. Ali reclaimed the championship belt, reclaimed his honor for a whole generation that stood against a senseless war. Ali's return proved determination, courage in sports and life. The powers could take his belt, but not the resolve in his heart. Ali wasn't just a boxing champ. He was a champ for what's right. 13. Mike Tyson. Baddest man on the planet out of prison, 89-second knockout and shattered pay-per-view records. Mike Tyson, one of the greatest names in boxing history, was famous for his destructive speed and power in the ring. But then, the biggest shock in his career hit in 1992 when Tyson faced a 6-year sentence for raping a girl named Desiree Washington. The label "baddest man on the planet" stuck with him from then on. At that point, Tyson's career at its peak got dragged to the bottom. For the 3 years after sentencing, he vanished from the boxing world. News about him got scarcer, but no one could deny Tyson's shadow still loomed over every ring, impossible to erase. In those 3 years, Tyson was in Indiana prison, where a boxing legend's life was just dull, dark days. The world knew Tyson was there, but no one believed he could revive his career after release. By March 1995, Tyson got out, and when he returned to the ring, the world was stunned. His first fight in August 1995 against Peter McNeely. Everything happened faster than imagined. The match lasted a mere 89 seconds before McNeely was out. And unbelievably, this fight shattered all pay-per-view records. Tyson's return became a media frenzy. All eyes were on him. It wasn't just a fight, it was a legend's rebirth, proving his power was still at the top. 12. Wesley Snipes served 3 years in prison, came back and broke a Guinness record in Deadpool and Wolverine. Wesley Snipes, who changed movie history with his role as Blade, one of the first superheroes to dominate the big screen, was once an icon of action films. In the 90s, with the boost from Blade, his name soared to new heights. But his skyrocketing career suddenly hit a wall. In 2010, when Wesley Snipes was at the top, a tax evasion case landed him in prison. 3 years behind bars, long enough to make people forget a star's name. The world kept spinning, movies kept getting made, but Snipes wasn't there, not shining on screen. Time in McKean Federal Correctional Institution in Pennsylvania might have been the most painful in his life. Each day was a tug between glorious past and harsh reality. News about him wasn't front page anymore, but in fans' minds, the image of Blade, the strong, unyielding superhero, lived on. People wondered, could Wesley Snipes come back? After finishing his sentence in 2013, Snipes got invited to The Expendables 3, 2014, right away. His character in the movie had just gotten out of prison, like a meta-commentary on his real life. But that wasn't his most impressive post-prison project. In 2019, he appeared in Dolomite Is My Name as D'Urville Martin, leaving Hollywood stunned, not just by his acting talent, but by his fierce vitality. In 2024, Wesley Snipes officially returned as Blade in the blockbuster Deadpool and Wolverine. The image of Blade, the character that made legend in fans' eyes, was reborn, stronger, more resilient. His reappearance not only shattered box office records, but caused a global frenzy, especially when Snipes set a Guinness record for a superhero actor's endurance. So, Wesley Snipes, from Forgotten and Imprisoned, came back not just to prove his acting chops, but to affirm one thing: nothing can stop a legend's rebirth. 11. George Foreman quit boxing to preach for 10 years, returned to win the belt, and made billions from his namesake grill. George Foreman, a boxing legend, was famous for his power that created dramatic fights. With the heavyweight title, he built a huge name in the 70s. In 1977, after losing to Jimmy Young, a weird experience totally changed Foreman. In the locker room, he felt death closing in, and then a supernatural light made him believe God saved him. Right away, Foreman decided to quit boxing to become a preacher. For 10 years, he poured his heart into preaching, building youth centers, and staying totally away from the ring. But in 1987, needing money to keep his center going, Foreman surprisingly returned to boxing. At first, the public mocked him for his weight and age, but George didn't let the sarcasm beat him. In 1994, at 45, he knocked out Michael Moorer to become the oldest heavyweight champ in the world. This return not only made history, but set the stage for a business empire with the George Foreman Grill, turning him into a billionaire. 10. Labi Siffre, vanished due to discrimination, returned with Something Inside. So strong against apartheid, Labi Siffre, a black gay artist, made a strong mark in music with hits like It Must Be Love in the early 70s. But by the late 70s, Siffre suddenly vanished from the spotlight. Totally disappointed with the unbeatable hurdles in his career, the pressure from a racist and homophobic music industry, he withdrew, stopped composing, and switched to poetry. During those years, no one saw Siffre on stage anymore. But then, a brutal image from a 1985 documentary on apartheid in South Africa sparked his awakening. The scene of white soldiers shooting black kids made Siffre unable to sit still. He wrote, Something Inside. So, Strong, a track like a challenge to the racist regime, and it was his powerful return. Released in 1987, the song became an icon for the anti-apartheid movement and human rights, marking his comeback in music and the fight for freedom. By 1999, Eminem wanted to sample his track, but Caffra firmly refused, demanding removal of homophobic and misogynistic lyrics. This was his life principle statement, the values he protected till the end. 9. Jim Brown, quit at his peak at 30, turning point for the first black action star and civil rights warrior. Jim Brown, an NFL legend, is an essential name in football history. When he retired in 1966 at just 30, he'd won tons of titles and was the season's top player. No one could have guessed one of the greatest players would suddenly leave it all behind. But Brown didn't vanish forever. After leaving the field, he returned in a totally new way. Instead of battling on football fields, he joined Hollywood, becoming the first black action movie star, starring in hits like The Dirty Dozen. Not only that, Brown dove deep into social activism, fighting for black rights, founding the Negro Industrial Economic Union to support black-owned businesses. The name Jim Brown now isn't just a sports symbol, he's a pioneer in the cultural and political war. Leaving the NFL, Jim Brown took an unexpected path, helping redefine black people's place in American society. 8. Sade, queen of the 10-year disappearances. Every return shocks the planet. Sade, with her mesmerizing voice and unmistakable style, is an unignorable music icon. After each great album, she makes the world hold its breath by vanishing, only to return and leave an indelible mark. Sade mastered the art of absence perfectly. After each storm of hits, she often pulls back from the spotlight, ditching showbiz glamour to live privately, raise her kids, and care for family. Each time she goes silent, the world craves her return even more. The 10-year gap between Lovers Rock, 2000, and Soldier of Love, 2010, proves her unique strategy that few can copy. Either people lack the patience, or they don't have the talent to make every comeback explode on stage. Each time Sade returns, there's never talk of failure or desperate effort. It's the comeback everyone waits for, a perfect mix of mystery and class. Her silence over long years became an essential part of Sade's intense appeal, making each reappearance priceless. 7. Anita Baker fought for copyrights for 2 decades. Anita Baker, the R&B queen with her soulful voice, created unforgettable marks in world music. Her hits like Sweet Love and Caught Up in the Rapture still echo through decades. But her career wasn't all rosy. After a string of brilliant successes, Anita suddenly pulled back from the spotlight. In 1994, she paused her career to focus on family, and then vanished again in the 2000s, caught in a fierce legal battle with her label. She didn't just fight to reclaim her music rights, she urged fans to stop streaming her stuff. Anita's 2018 return stunned fans and media. Back then, she'd announced retirement but decided to come back with the farewell tour. And more importantly, she brought news of victory in the long legal war. Regaining ownership of her music works was a win not just artistically, but economically. Maybe that's why she did the tour, to celebrate the win. The name Anita Baker now ties not just to music, but to resilience, the story of fierce fight for artists' rights. 6. Sandanda Maitraa killed Terence Trent D'Arby and rose from the ashes in Italy. Terence Trent D'Arby, a once huge star, conquered music with unforgettable hits like Wishing Well and Sign Your Name. In 1987, he was a phenomenon, a rising superstar. But by the mid-90s, as his career slid, D'Arby hit a deep identity crisis. He felt the weight of the name Terence Trent D'Arby too heavy, like a haunting ghost he couldn't shake. So, in 1995, he decided to kill that character. By 2001, D'Arby legally changed to Sandanda Maitraa, a bold move to create a new self. He left everything from the past, moved to Italy, and started over, never looking back at the name he'd erased. With music released online and a totally new style, Sandanda Maitraa didn't just survive the career storm, he reborn strong, proving nothing could dictate his fate but himself. 5. Tracy Chapman, Silent for nearly 2 decades then, suddenly on Grammy 2024 stage, making the world cry, Tracy Chapman, with the legendary Fast Car, won fans' hearts and became an 80s music icon. But after her 2008 album, she seemed to vanish from music, making many think this star would stay off stage forever. She chose a private life in San Francisco, no more performing or public appearances. The world thought Tracy Chapman had retired. Yet in 2024, when Luke Combs's Fast Car cover hit #1, Chapman suddenly agreed to join the Grammy Awards. There, she stood on stage, performing the legendary track with Combs. Under the glaring lights, she shone bright once more. That moment touched fans' hearts, making the world remember a glorious time when Tracy Chapman's talent lit up every stage. Even though she'd chosen to stay away from the spotlight for years, her glow never faded. 4. Martin Lawrence. Went crazy with a gun in the intersection, then returned with Bad Boys and Big Mama's House. Crushing all doubts, Martin Lawrence, the famous comedy star, gave the screen unforgettable roles, leaving a deep mark in entertainment. But everything changed fast in 1996. When everyone expected his next works, a shocking event killed all anticipation. In May that year, Martin was found in a busy Los Angeles intersection, gun in hand, yelling like a madman, "They're trying to kill me." After the incident, Martin was hospitalized and in a coma for 3 days, making the public think his career was done. But after treatment and recovery, Martin Lawrence returned totally different, not just ditching the dark past, but proving he's a real fighter. His comeback with blockbusters like Bad Boys and Big Mama's House shot him back to the top, silencing all criticism and mockery with Martin's amazing recovery. 3. O'Brien, Soul Train ghost missing for over 20 years, suddenly drops new album driving old fans wild. O'Brien, with his sweet voice and timeless ballads, was once a bright star in 80s R&B. Back then, as R&B exploded, O'Brien was essential on Soul Train, with tracks captivating the world. But the quick changes in the music industry, especially after Capitol Records shifted strategy, pushed him out. Losing his deal, O'Brien had no choice but to withdraw, living quietly on meager royalties. The public almost forgot him until 2007. O'Brien came back not to sing old tunes or salvage past glory, but to drop a new album, F1RS. This album not only marked his impressive return, but showed underrated artists can find their audience again thanks to loyal, unfading love from fans. 2. Pamela Long. Total Member left the group at its peak, silent for 20 years, then transformed with a healing message. Pamela Long was once a bright star in the famous female R&B group Total, an icon of Bad Boy Records. But at the group's peak, Pamela suddenly left, and from then, she pretty much vanished from music. It was 2001, when Total was topping charts. Pamela Long decided to pull out, leaving a gap impossible to fill. This choice, from internal conflicts and bad management, led to the group's breakup and her long silence. Fans couldn't help regretting a talent's departure. But nearly a decade later, she returned. She wasn't the vibrant Total girl anymore. She was a mature woman, calm and seeking healing. In recent years, Pamela's trying solo projects and group reunions, bringing strong messages about religion and healing while sharing her personal journey full of challenges. The band's messy past isn't a burden anymore. Now, Pamela Long found her own path. 1. Thomas Esamba, escaped from London 2012. Olympic Village, lived in hiding, then returned to win the championship belt. Thomas Esamba, captain of Cameroon's boxing team at the London 2012 Olympics, was a promising sports star. Everyone believed he and his teammates would make huge waves internationally. No one expected him and his teammates to suddenly flee the Olympic Village. Actually, it wasn't an impulsive, thoughtless act, but a desperate protest from people who'd endured dangerous, impoverished lives back home. They carried suitcases full of hope, stepping out of the protected area, blending into London's crowds. They fled their homeland's harshness to a place they could find some peace. Years later, after a long time living in hiding and facing dangers, Thomas returned. Now he wasn't a refugee lurking in shadows. He stood under bright lights, proudly winning the Commonwealth Championship belt. His return didn't just bring sports victory, it became a statement on the right to live free, to seek happiness, escaping poverty and violence's chains. So we've looked back at these stars' roller coaster stories who vanished but returned brilliantly. Their comebacks are journeys to new glory, with talent, perseverance, and confidence. What do you think about these reappearances? Share your thoughts in the comments below the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos, where we'll reveal more secrets hidden behind celebrities' glamour.